It is understood from some weak narrations that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam learned the salah and the wudu from Jibreel alayhi salam. So it is said in Mustadrak al-Hakim, أتاه في أول ما أوحي إليه فأراه الوضوء والصلاة وعلمه إسلام. That Jibreel alayhi salam came down and wudu was taught to him and salah was taught to him. Okay, so it is said, this is in Sirat ibn Ishaq, that Jibreel alayhi salam came down and then spring water was created. There was a spring of water and Jibreel alayhi salam did wudu and he showed Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam how wudu was done. So he demonstrated the wudu, then he prayed. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam followed the same thing, and he learned how to do wudu and make salah. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam prayed 2 rak'ahs. Probably, this is from me, probably behind Jibreel alayhi salam. Allah knows best. And then when he learned the salah, he went to Khadija radiallahu anha. He taught Khadija radiallahu anha how to pray, and it is said that there is one merchant who is reported to have seen in this very beginning time Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Khadija radiallahu anha, and Ali radiallahu anh praying together somewhere, just by themselves. Can you imagine that scene? Subhanallah. Subhanallah, this is so beautiful. This commandment that Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam received in Ya Ayyuhal Muzammil, in Surah Al-Muzammil, when he was asleep, he's asked to do Qiyamul Layl. This is understood that Salah became fard upon him. Qiyamul Layl became fard. This was what he was doing. If you look at the last ayah, which is ayah number 20 of Surah Muzammil, it's a very half-page long ayah, you can see a scene that happened sometime later. It is said that happened probably a year or more later. So for a year or more, Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam is standing up at night. How much is he standing up at night? What was the commandment to him? Half of the night or more, or a little less. Can you imagine how long that is? Can you, in the winter nights, divide the winter nights? It's like 4 to 5 hours of standing doing qiyam. What is he reciting? Or maybe Surah Al-Qalam, or if that was revealed, Surah Al-Duha, or Surah Al-Muzammil. That's what he's reciting over and over for like 4 hours or more at night. So that is happening for 1 year. Not only him, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, the Sahaba, the early converts are also praying along with Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. So the last ayah of Surah Al-Muzammil, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala says, "Inna rabbaka ya'lam." Your Lord knows أنك تقوم أدنى من ثلثي الليل ونصفه وثلثه وطائفة من الذين معك. Yeah, that Allah knows that you're standing up at night for a period of time, and there are others with you. Sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Wallahu yuqaddiru al-layla wan-nahar, and Allah controls the day and the night. Alima allan tuhsuhu fataba alaykum. Allah knows that you're not able to measure how long you need to do the qiyam. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala knows that you're not able to get up on time, or you're not able to keep up. Alima allan tuhsuhu fataba alaykum. Then Allah turned to you, meaning in forgiveness. Allah turned to you and is now going to make the takhfif, is going to make it easy for you. فَقْرَأُوا مَا تَيَسَّرَ مِنَ الْقُرْآنِ. Then read as much Quran as you can. What is easy for you? You read as much Quran as it is easy for you. Meaning what? The whole purpose of the Qiyamul Layl is what? The Quran. So Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is telling him, no, don't make your salah shorter. Read as much Quran as it is easy for you. And then the ayah goes on. So what we learn from this ayah is Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam in the very, 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 very early days of Nubuwwah, he is praying along with the Sahaba radiallahu anhum, the few, the 4, the 5, Allah knows best. What a beautiful company that would have been, hours on end. And then a year or so later, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala comes down with these ayat, the last ayah of Surah Al-Muzammil, and says, now Allah is turning to you with an ease, making it easy for you. You don't have to stay up half the night. You can stay much less than that. As much as you can. As much as you can. So this is the first scene. So Aisha radiallahu anha, she tells us that iftarada qiyam al-layl fi awwali hadhihi surah. That Qiyam al-Layl was made mandatory at the beginning of this surah, and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam and the Sahaba, they were standing along with him. And then the last ayat came just like we described, and then toward the end she said in Hadith Sahih Muslim, فَصَارَ قِيَامُ اللَّيْلِ تَطَوُّعًا بَعْدَ فَرِيضَةٍ. Then Qiyam al-Layl became optional for him after, or not for him. So there's ikhtilaf. So it's, according to some scholars, Qiyam al-Layl remained fard for Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam. Others say it became optional, but it became optional for at least for the Sahaba after the fard salah became fard. Okay, inshallah. So now, when did salawat become fard? Everybody knows this. So this is the night prayer. What about the daily prayers? When did they become fard? Not from the Sheikh. Isra and Mi'raj. It's not a trick question. When did Isra and Mi'raj happen? The common narrative, the common opinion is Isra and Mi'raj happened later in the Makki period. After the boycott, after al-Husna, after Khadija radiallahu anha passed away, after Abdul Muttalib passed away, after the boycott, right? Okay. But actually, this doesn't add up. That's a whole different discussion. Most likely, inshallah, the correct opinion is, and this is not the common opinion, okay, so don't kill me. But the correct opinion is that happened much earlier on. That happened likely, Isra and Mi'raj likely happened much earlier on in the 4th or the 5th year of Nubuwah. In the 4th or the 5th year. Because that is when Surah Al-Najm is revealed. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wa sallam is reported to recite Surah Al-Najm in front of the Kaaba. Remember when all the kuffar, they did sajda? That was Surah Al-Najm. فَاسْجُدُوا لِلَّهِ وَعْبُدُوا. And all of the kuffar did sajda along with him. That was Surah Al-Najm. That was much earlier on. So it is understood that that is when Isra and Mi'raj actually happened. And he said, فَأُعْطِيَ ثَلَاثًا. And then I was given 3 things. One of them was as-salawatul khams. I was given the 5 salawat, wa khawatim Surah Al-Baqarah, and the ending of Surah Al-Baqarah, which is understood to be the last 2 ayat of Surah Al-Baqarah, and وَيَغْفِرُ لِمَنْ مَاتَ مِنْ أُمَّتِهِ لَا يُشْرِكُ بِاللَّهِ شَيْئًا الْمُقْحِمَاتِ. Then all of the sins of the worst magnitude from my ummah, those who don't do shirk will be forgiven. These are the 3 things in this narration. And Nasa'i, it is mentioned that these are the 3 things Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam was granted. Now, salawatul khams, he was given the 5 salah. You all know the story, right? So now, daily prayers begin. It is understood. We can understand that daily prayers began probably very early on in the Makki period. So first, it was just Qiyamul Layl for a long time, and then the daily prayers began. Aisha radiallahu anha in Hadith Bukhari also explains that the first time when the salah became fard, furidat is-salah rak'atayn. There was 2 rak'ah salah in the beginning. The whole time it was 2 rak'ah salah. ثم هاجر النبي صلى الله عليه وسلم. Then Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam, when he did hijrah, ففuridat arba'an. Then the 4 rak'ahs were prescribed. But for the salah of travel, it remained 2. Okay, this is the description of Aisha radiallahu anha. And we can understand around this time, again, we don't know exactly. Okay, this is just a narrative I created. Okay, and Allah knows best. But then there's a hadith where Jibreel alayhi salam, as we mentioned last time, he came down showing Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam the timings of the 5 prayers, of the 5 daily prayers that have became fard upon the ummah now. And Rasulullah sallallahu alayhi wasallam, the Jibreel alayhi salam came down at the time of dhuhr, at the beginning time of dhuhr, and then until the sun was close to the Asr time, at the beginning of Asr time, and then he came again, and basically he showed him the beginning times of each of the salah. Then he came the next day, and then he came at the end times of each of the salah. So Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam knows what is the range of time, what's the time window for each salah. But for Maghrib in this narration, it says it was the same time. So Maghrib, this is why, for example, our Hanafi brothers and sisters, they pray Maghrib immediately, because that's the time based on this narration in Nasa'i. So what we understand in summary, that the companions and Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam were praying the Qiyamul Layl for a year or more, and Surah Muzammil eventually came down, and then they were first praying almost half the night, and then it was reduced, and it was asked them to pray as much as you can, and then Isra and Mi'raj happened, and then the daily prayers were prescribed, and Isra and Mi'raj happened much earlier on, and Jibreel alayhi salam taught Rasulullah sallallahu alaihi wasallam how to do wudu and salah. And then it was 2 rak'ah at first, and then it was made for Dhuhr and Asr and Isha, it was made 4 rak'ah later on after the Hijrah.